afternoon. My name's Amy Winters. I'm a graduating business major at Wagner College. Today I will be presenting my senior thesis entitled Gender Stereotypes Supporting the Current Wage Gap. So why I wanted to write about this, I had some issues trying to find a topic that I would have motivation for and passion for, and as someone who's going to further my education, it was upsetting to find out that women will make professional women will make between $700,000 to $2 million less than their equal male counterparts. And I feel like it's a really prevalent issue that needs to be addressed, and a lot of people overlook it or have false facts about it. So I wanted to look further into it and research it. So the source of the problem, I looked at a few different components throughout my thesis. The first thing I explored was gender stereotypes. I feel like they're so embedded into our society. They go back to a time when women had no rights, and the fact that they are so deep into the foundation of our society, the subconscious acceptance of them has helped create a dissolution of the actual problem, which is the wage gap. A lot of the stereotypes are corresponding to characteristics that are associated with each gender. For instance, women are seen as more nurturing and emotional, where men are seen as more competitive and rational, and there's a definite connection between the two, and over the years, over the decades, they've formed real issues with that. Role expectations are an important aspect when analyzing the wage gap, and they're actually formed at childhood, and then from that, society kind of can grow their own expectations off of it. So that's an important aspect. And the last aspect was the media's portrayal of gender, which actually ties into my experiential learning, my internship this semester, which I will further explain in my presentation. In my research, I found two really interesting thoughts on gender role expectations. The first one being rational action. And basically what this stated was that women holding traditional views or traditional roles will end up working less and end up making less than women who kind of branch out of the traditional roles set aside for females. And the second one, cognitive reinterpretation. Basically what this said was that marriage and children will have negative effects for those who have more equalitarian views, and this is men and women, so it's not associated particularly to females. And as a result, it can foster stereotypical behavior, which then adds to the problem of the wage gap. I also found two really interesting and very different management views based off of women. The first one stated very bluntly that women can't separate their emotions from business, and as a result, our decisions will be more costly. And that goes opposed to a view of that women have their own unique management styles that are equally effective to male management styles, different but equally effective. And what I found actually today with today's trend in the workplace, and I've actually learned this in a lot of my management classes, and business classes at Wagner, is that trends are actually leading towards female management styles because they have more understanding generally and compassion for their employees, and that's what today's workforce is looking for. So my internship this semester that ties into my thesis was at Women's Expressive Theater Productions. This is a non-profit production company located in Manhattan that challenges female stereotypes and advocates for equality. So it was a really good experience for me, and I actually was able to learn a lot about my thesis topic, which I think really helped in the aspect that I will talk about later about the media and their effects. While I was working there, I had the privilege of interviewing Victoria Pettibone, who is the executive producer and director of operations at the company. And when I was interviewing her, she said a couple things that really stood out to me about the media's portrayal of gender as well as things that she's experienced throughout her work world. One thing that she said verbatim, she told me, if you don't demand to be valued, you won't be. And what she was specifically talking about was asking for raises. A lot of times females feel uncomfortable, they feel like it's gonna come off rude if they ask for that, but not only in terms of wages and salary, but also in terms of respect and recognition for the hard work that we do put in. And she said that that was a problem that she's seen with a lot of particularly young women starting off a career in any industry. And I asked her what the hardest thing for her was, and she said being taken seriously. She said a lot of times people see her just as a girl, not someone as a strong leadership. And so that was very challenging for her, and she thinks that that is a challenging thing for all young women, again, who are trying to jumpstart a career in any industry. And the last thing that she said that really stood out to me, and I had never thought about it like this. I always thought of it as stereotypes that women might be faced with, but she said it's not only those, but the stereotypes that they bring with them. This kind of ties back into the if you don't demand to be valued, you won't be. From seeing, the role expectations from childhood, as well as what you see in the media, you kind of have an image of what you have to fit into, and a lot of times that can affect your future success if you let it negatively affect you, which she says she has seen. To go further into the media's portrayal, she brought up ads in magazines and how a lot of times ads for females have more passive body language, and while ads for males have more active images. So this kind of corresponds with some of the stereotypes and what is expected of females versus what is expected of males. And the last thing that she brought up when specifically talking about the media was this year's Super Bowl commercials. And they were funny in their extremity. I'll admit I laughed to a bunch of them, but she pointed out that sometimes commercials and images like this can put a men versus women stance on life, and it's when that is taken from our entertainment and brought into the real world and our interactions in the workplace, that can become really dangerous, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle that will just keep going if nobody interjects and tries to make it right. And it is a really big problem. In my thesis, I went into different cases over the last decade about sex discrimination and wage discrimination, and there actually is a lot. But one that is currently going on that I thought was really interesting is with Walmart. And the attorney for the plaintiffs who are suing Walmart classified it as old school discrimination, which is exactly what it is. This case is basically Walmart being sued for sex discrimination because they've paid women less, given them less promotions, and made them wait longer for these promotions. It was filed 9 years ago in 2001, and recently was given permission to go to court. Because of this decision that was recently made, it is the largest class action suit in American history. It's representing more than 1 million female current and past Walmart employees. So this issue, although sometimes brushed aside with maybe more interesting issues like the economy or immigration or this or that, it's a problem and people are ignoring it, but it's still affecting millions of women and probably still will be if nobody does anything about it. So from here, I wanted to look into what's actually being done, because when I watch the news, I don't see anything addressing this topic, and I wanted to know why. And I actually found there's a few bills in Congress, and one that has recently been signed by President Obama. The first one that I found that's in Congress is the Fair Pay Act, and this is in efforts to end wage discrimination against employees in female-dominated jobs.